This is a Pilot Falcon, a pen that is very popular with artists for good reason. Let's take a look at it. First of all, it's one of the few pens, modern pens anyway, on the market with a flexible nib, so that I can, with pressure, tease out a considerable amount of line variation. It's also very comfortable to use. It's not particularly heavy, but still feels substantial, and it's really well balanced. So when I draw with it, my hand doesn't get tired. It seems to sort of just float in my hand, and I can use it both posted, and it's long enough to use unposted, which is really nice. This nib is really unique. Besides being flexible, it also works really well in reverse. This is one of the smoothest reverse writers in my collection, so I can tease out an extra fine line. It also has the advantage of being able to do this. It has a really unique nib with a curve on it like this, and I can create almost like a brush-like effect if I want. Now, this is not something I often use, but this probably has a lot of potential in rendering textures, landscape, filling in blacks. So I think this could be really useful. So this pen is incredibly versatile, one of the more versatile pens I have in my collection. The only disadvantage to it is its really poor ink capacity. It works with cartridges. Unfortunately, it's too small to fit the larger Con 70 adapter made by Pilot. It only fits the Con 40, which is an adapter with really poor ink capacity. So the thing with flex pens is they tend to eat up a lot of ink. So with this little adapter, I'm constantly forced to refill my pen and travel the extra ink in case this pen runs out. I would say that's only a disadvantage to it, other than the price. At around $150, it's a little bit on the pricier side, but again, it's really reliable. And really, if you're going to buy one flex pen, one modern flex pen, I would buy this one. There are other flex pens on the market that are a little bit better, but they're actually more expensive. So this is the Pilot Falcon. I have a fine nib in this. I really wish I had extra fine, but again, it sort of depends how large you draw. This is sort of a personal thing. Okay, let's see what this pen looks like in practice. Let's take this for a test drive. I have this pen inked up with Noodler's Black, which is one of my favorite water-resistant inks. This pen has a fine nib in it, which makes the line a little bit too thick for doing this kind of lay-in. But one of my favorite things about this pen is that it's an excellent reverse writer, which teases out a very smooth, I would say extra fine line, which is perfect for this kind of underdrawing that I usually do when I work in pen and ink. The other thing is the ergonomics on this pen are really excellent. It's relatively slender, which allows me to sneak my fingers a little further back, which is what I like to do when I sketch. It gives me a little more control over a finer line. And then when I want to go heavier, I sneak my fingers a little further up on the pen so that I have a little more control over heavier lines. This pen has really good flow. It's very, very smooth. The flexibility is not the best. In fact, quite often it's advertised as a flex pen. I would say it's more of a soft nib as opposed to a flex pen, not even a semi-flex. But look, for most drawing purposes, that's perfectly fine. What else can I tell you about it? Look, this pen is very, very reliable. I've never had hard starts with it. It's never leaked. This is a pen that if you have inked up for months and months and just sitting in a box will write perfectly right from the beginning. It's really reliable, which cannot be said for a lot of vintage pens, cannot be said for a lot of other flex pens, which are a little more finicky, which you really have to fidget with before they work. So one of the best soft, fine, semi-flex pens you can buy. It's the one that's also most commonly available, so you can easily get it from shops in the US. You can order it from Japan. This pen does not have a discount if ordered directly from Japan, though. And the other thing is, I guess one thing to really recommend it, you very rarely find this pen used, which means that people who buy it will not want to get rid of it, which is definitely a very high recommendation. Look, I have very little to complain about when it comes to this pen. The flow is excellent. It allows me to work really, really fast. I can go slow if I want. Again, the nib allows for lots of different variation in line, reverse writing. I can work using that brush effect. perhaps one little gripe is that it's a little bit of a wet writer, which can be a problem in flex pens because fountain pen ink takes a relatively long time to dry. So you've got a big pool of ink, you really have to be careful not to smudge the drawing. Now the way to avoid that is to make sure that you're inking from the top right and working towards the bottom left. That'll keep you from smearing your hand over your drawing. And you just have to be careful. It's not such a big deal. However, if you're planning to do mixed media, if you want to start with ink and then go over it with some kind of wash, you do have to wait a while. And with this pen, because it's such a wet writer, that can be a little bit of a problem. The other disadvantage is something I mentioned again, is this pen's poor ink capacity. Again, not such a big issue. You can work with cartridges. I usually bring a little vial of ink along when I travel, so that's not really a big deal. What else can I say about this pen? Again, it has good flexibility. For figure drawing, unless you're being really super expressive, you don't really need to put in a super heavy line. But it has the capacity if you need it. What else can I say about this pen? Oh, okay, we're almost done with the drawing. So there is my presentation of the Pilot Falcon. This model has a fine nib in it. I'd like to try the extra fine, though some people say it's perhaps a little bit scratchier. But look, that's also heavily dependent on the kind of paper you use. Scratchiness is obviously very subjective. You can buy this pen on eBay. You can go to gouletpens.com. This pen is also available in a metal version, which is considerably more expensive. So it's probably, I would say, maybe $50 to $70 more than the plastic version. I really like the lightness of this. The metal version, though, however, can hold a longer converter. Okay, so there's my review of the Pilot Falcon with a fine nib, a semi-flex, or what some people will call a soft fine nib. Highly recommended for any artist that is looking to sketch or draw with a fountain pen.